Sarah said, I just don't think I could do it, having loved a child and then watch them get in someone's car and drive away. And Jesse looks at us and he goes, every child deserves to be loved so much that they have people standing on the porch crying when they drive away. You know?
So they bring us this tiny little girl who's 3 days old.
3 days old.
And I don't know how much I'm going to be able to talk about this.
But there really was.
crying.
I remember her calling me.
Wow.
You know, we were like exhausted, as every foster parent is, you know. And,
Yes.
But when she said, babe, there's a 3-day-old little baby,
Yep.
it was like instant. Yes.
Yes.
Like there was a peace, and it just from the jump felt like it was the Lord was weaving a story. I was holding her and I go, and we have 5 bio kids and
Right.
We only
4
had
at the
4
time.
at that time.
And I said, I love her more than our other kids. I love her the most
love her
of
the
any
most.
human being ever. So don't tell them I said that.
Even
We
playing
won't.
field,
We
at
won't. We'll
least,
cut
for
this
sure.
part out.
I'll never forget the day they brought her home. When the judge granted reunification, they brought her home, and all of them, them and the 4 kids, all had her items, and they were all crying. And I was like, "Why is everybody crying? Like, this isn't the end." Like, they thought it was it, and that
Yes,
was
it's like we're never gonna see her again.
Yeah.
She was like, well, what is she going to call you? Because, you know, she's going to have, it's going to be confusing. She has so many mommies. So I was thinking, you know, she can call me aunt. She can call me, you know, that one girl that we know over there. And Hannah's like, what about mommy Sarah? And I was like, really?
Wow.
That's so special.
I do love you guys and you, and I never want to let you go.
Never going to let you go.
Never have to.
Welcome to the Open Homes Initiative podcast, where we love to share stories to connect foster, kinship, adoptive care, and the crisis of the current system to real life people and real life stories. We want to put names and faces to numbers and statistics here within our own local community. So my name is Justin Smith. I get to host this podcast. I have the joy of sitting with Landon Henry, the pastor of San Angelo First here in town, his beautiful wife, Sarah, who I had the joy of teaching with years ago. I mean, just we're still super young. So
Yeah.
that's
We were very young.
Back in the
yeah,
80s.
back in the 80s. Woo, not quite that old.
Yeah, not quite.
And
2008.
2008. It was somewhere around there. And then Hannah, who is a bio mom, which is a really neat story. And so let's jump in to this. Kind of tell us a little bit about yourselves and your family, and then maybe how God led you into foster care in the first place.
I've always had a heart for adoption. Before even I really understood what foster care was, I just had a heart for missions in general and for adoption. And just through some people at church, we started learning more about foster care and what does that look like. And anytime we heard, you know, anybody talk about it or tell their story, we just could not deny, you know, our hearts being moved. When we decided to foster, we had 4 bio kids. We just kind of jumped in. We knew some people in our church. Yvonne worked for some placement agencies. Different people worked for placement agencies in our church. that
Yvonne
we
is
knew
well known
about.
around town.
Yes, we all know Yvonne. And so she was just very encouraging. It was like, kind of took a lot of the unknown out of it, made it less scary seeming. And we just started the process. And I was all in when we started to, you know, get licensed and everything.
We had a stand Sunday
Okay.
at our church. I don't remember what year this was, but Kyle Bateman, who was real big with Phased In Wichita Falls, and now he's in DFW, and then Bishop Blake, who was in Brownwood.
Okay.
And that was the first, I believe that was the first county that had more families waiting on kids than kids waiting on families.
Yep.
If I'm correct on that. And he came and spoke at our church, and you know, he did the classic thing that he did back years ago when he asked people in his church, will you stand with me? Mm-hmm. Stand. And we did that in our church, and a bunch of people stood, and I'm on the inside going, I wonder if I'm going to do something more than just have other people stand in church. It was already kind of rumbling. And
Okay.
I remember one defining moment was, you know, and we, of course, we're pastors and we love people and we love the gospel and like believe it should affect every part of our lives. Not just something we say at church, but, you know, something that we really live to the best of our ability. But some of our best friends adopted 2 little boys. And I'll never forget when we were sitting with them at dinner one night, and we were already wrestling with this stuff, and honestly, kind of talking ourselves out of it. And his name is Jesse and Casey, and Sarah said, I just don't think I could do it. I don't think I could ever be there, having loved a child and then watch them drive away, get in someone's car and drive away. And I just don't think I could do that. And Jesse looks at us and he goes, every child deserves to be loved so much that they have people standing on the porch crying when they drive away, because they got back with their bio family. And we were like,
jerk. Like, what?
You shut up.
I mean, that's the.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many times we hear that in the foster arena, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I could do that. How do you let those in, and how do you not get attached? No, the goal is to get attached.
Exactly.
Because the kid.
You're doing it right.
Yes, the kid deserves it. The kid needs that, and
right.
especially in some early moments, like in this story in particular, right? The story is straight home from the hospital. Is that right? And there's so much that goes on in those early years.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little more on that. 3 days old.
Before we had Sunny, I just want to put this in here. We had another placement first.
Okay.
A sibling set placement. And this is where we felt like God really spoke to us through the word in Proverbs, where it says, if you already have what your neighbor needs, don't tell him to come back tomorrow. And so I don't even know how I came upon that verse, but we had like the placement paperwork for that sibling set of 2. And we were like, they had been in foster care for a while. There was some crazy stuff in their paperwork, and we were really wrestling with like, can we do this? Like, are we the people for this? And we came across that verse, and we were like, I mean, how much clearer can God be? Like, I mean, I've never seen that verse in my life, and it was like super applicable. And so we just knew that we had to say yes to that. And so we had them like 6 months maybe?
Yeah.
And like I said, they had been in foster care for a while. Parental rights were terminated there, but at the very last minute, they're like a distant relative came into the picture. And that is a whole nother God story that they were able to be adopted with their older sister, who was 3rd in their sibling set. And it was just God's handprint all over that. And that was hard. Like, we thought maybe we would adopt them.
The first taste of letting somebody go.
We thought maybe we would adopt them, and we, had to let them go, but we knew, that the Lord was working there. After that's over, we're like, oh my gosh, we need to just breathe for a minute. I don't know if we can do that again anytime soon. And like 5 weeks later, Yvonne's like, I have a baby.
Are you ready? Yvonne does that. She does that so good. She makes that phone call. She's like, hey.
And Landon wasn't even home. I was doing respite for another little girl.
Okay, out of town even.
He's out of town. I'm doing respite for another baby that I have at my house. So I have another baby at the house. And they're like, yeah, we need to bring her in right now. And I'm like, babe, what do you think? And he's like, sure. If you want to.
Okay.
And so they bring us this tiny little girl who's 3 days old.
3 days old.
And I don't know how much I'm going to be able to talk about this.
But there really was. I remember her calling me.
Wow.
We were like exhausted, as every foster parent is, and wanting, maybe we thought we wanted to take a break.
Yes.
But when she said, babe, there's a 3-day-old little baby, it was like instant. Yes. Like there was a peace. And it just from the jump felt like it was the Lord was weaving a story together.
Or to go back
we
to
were
that
part of something
proverb.
bigger than us.
Yeah, to go back to that proverb, him laying it on your heart, and specifically this arena, right? I mean, that Proverbs may affect other people in a number of things. So we're not, as pastors, not going, this verse says every one of you church
Everybody has
members
to do foster
needs to be in the foster care. That's not, but it's a beautiful thing how the living, breathing word of God can actually apply in so many different situations and contexts. And he used that Proverbs to go, hey, Sarah, like this is going to be kind of a cornerstone verse for you. And then, 3 days old.
Yeah.
How can I say no? That's the heart of the foster.
Oh, yes, she was so precious.
Parents.
And she was just, like Landon said, we just had this peace. It wasn't like hard even really. I mean, it was hard in that we knew like the situation, obviously, but like taking care of her was just so natural and so special. And Landon was like in love with her from the minute he saw her.
Yeah. I told Sarah one day, I was holding her and I go, and we have 5 bio kids and
We only
4
had
at the
4
time.
at that time.
And I said, I love her more than our other kids. I love her the most of any human being ever. So, it was God's grace. Like I feel like being poured out and his love being poured out in our hearts, and he was loving through us, you know?
Yeah.
And that's a cool thing to experience. To almost feel like there is another force, like there's a greater love that's greater than you could ever muster up.
Yeah.
That is like literally pouring.
Potentially even greater than love for my own kids.
Yeah.
She was definitely on.
Don't tell them I said that.
We won't. We'll cut this part out.
Actually, what I said was, I love my kids the same. No, I didn't. Yeah.
No, but I know that feeling. We've had plenty walk in where it's like, how do you explain this? It's a different kind of setting, a different kind of love where you've got the natural love for your own bio children, but he can supernaturally empower you to go, okay, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to care for this
right.
kiddo as long as we've got him.
Yeah.
Right. And then somehow it'd be okay when the car door closes and they drive down the street. You
Absolutely.
know. And so it's
So the story of how things progress after that is super interesting and very specific to the time period, because we get this baby in September 2019, and then it's COVID. We're in lockdown.
I forgot this part. Yeah.
So we're in lockdown. We, go to a couple things where we see her parents, Hannah and Rob, a couple of visits where we take her to CPS office and they're there visiting. And you've done those visits, like it's kind of like a little like, it's weird. You're like, I want to connect with you, but like, are we on the same team? Are we against each other? Like, it's a weird kind of a deal. So when we go into lockdown, we now have to have visits on Zoom.
Nice.
Summer is an infant.
Yes. We've
So-
had some of those visits.
So
No
we're like
worries.
Zooming. Here's your baby. Look at her. She's precious. But what happens is Hannah and I just start talking. Like
Okay.
the whole Zoom call is me and her just chatting. And the CPS people are on there to like monitor, but they're just letting it happen, telling stories and getting to know each other and learning about each other. And
Had so much in common.
yeah,
Yes.
we're about the same age, both have several kids that were born, during similar times in our lives, different things. At one point we're like, are we allowed to have each other's phone numbers? The CPS worker's like, sure, if you want.
If you're okay with it.
If you guys are good, then yeah. And so we exchange phone numbers, and then we're texting and just talking all the time. We're sending pictures. It was so specific, like to that time, that I know God orchestrated it that way, because there's no other scenario where we would have built a relationship like that. I
Okay.
don't think.
Yeah.
And so God can create the scenario in different ways, but for this story, that's how he did it. And it really changed just how you just don't have the insight or the ability really to have that close of a relationship a lot of times with bio parents as foster parents.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You don't get to know their stories or get to know, but this allowed us to do that and just opened our eyes to how much of a story there is behind all foster care situations, right? There's so much more there that like we try to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, this and oh, that's probably this and probably that. But most of the time we don't have any idea like what all
Or we
people
make
have
assumptions.
gone through, what
Don't
they,
understand
what
the trauma,
they're
the
trying to do,
background.
all those things.
Yeah.
And so it was just an incredible opportunity, I feel like,
Wow.
to bond with Summer's mom, become a team more. Like
Okay.
we really both wanted, what was best for Summer. And so
I'll never forget one time after you got off the phone and you came to me and you were like, I just got through talking to Hannah while Sonny played. You said, I feel like she's me. Like, you remember this? You were like,
Yeah.
I feel like we could be sisters. You know?
Wow.
And
Well,
it was
so much of her story, I felt like was, like she said, so similar that like
the way
just
you guys grew up. and-
circumstances in life, like when you think about your own life, could have ended up this way, and you're like, why did it end up the way it did? It could have very easily ended up a different way.
Yeah.
I just had such a soft, sweet
Real
spot for her.
kindred
She
spirits
just
from
felt
the
like my
jump.
sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely felt that from the beginning, and that actually encouraged me to do better and be stronger from what I was going through on my part. Not being able to see the baby, but then here's Sarah praying for me and encouraging me and telling me, I had a lot of shame and guilt for, the whole situation, and coming out of a dark place like an active addiction, it's hard to like face that. I'm the villain in the story, having to talk to the judge and the CPS workers, and jumping through all the hoops, like going through the parenting classes, doing the NA meetings, this and that. And then when it came to time to visit, I had Sarah, who was so non-judgmental towards me that it had an impact on me and in doing better and getting me to the place where, I was able to actually finally get her home. So that her being that way was like a powerful force for me.
Wow.
So cool.
That's fun to hear. So then you start having your own visitations with a baby close. And we're having visitations, and there happens to be Sonny here in the background. Landon gets a little jealous about this new relationship,
Yeah,
whatever goes on.
I'm getting left out
He's
completely.
getting left out. How long did y'all have Sonny before?
She was with us for 15 months.
Okay.
And like I told you, or like we said, like she felt like our baby. And God was like, just had our hearts so soft for her from the beginning. And we couldn't imagine losing her.
Right.
But at the same time, we knew that the best thing for her was to be with her biological family.
Absolutely.
And so we just felt like the Lord spoke to us to have open hands. And that was the thing we always said, we were praying for whatever God had for the situation. And we were not going to, try to make something happen that was maybe what we wished we could do in a different scenario, because we knew what was best for her was to be back with Hannah, and Hannah was always doing such a great job. But anytime that, feeling of like, we want to try to believe that it's not the best thing for her. Because sometimes that happened because we just wanted to keep her.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, we did. We love her so much, and our kids loved her so much. She was just so precious to us. We would feel the Lord, like, remember, open hands.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know what I'm doing, and what I'm doing is the best thing for everybody. And Yvonne was very encouraging in that too. She was like, I would like have a meltdown and be like, what am I going to do? How is this going to work out? She's like, I don't know how it's going to work out, but I know God is working an incredible story.
Yes.
Like, I can tell that this is something really big.
Yes.
And so she would encourage us to just keep trusting God. And so that's what we always, anytime we had an appointment, we had to take her to therapy, or we had something was coming up in court or whatever, we were like, open hands. Like, God knows.
Okay.
God knows
Yeah.
what to do. And we're supporting Hannah and praying that she, continues down this path to be able to get her baby back. So it's like so hard to talk about or to express the tension of those two things at the same time.
Absolutely.
To have both of those things happening at once is a wild feeling and hard to explain.
Absolutely.
So-
Something pretty unique to the foster
Oh my
arena.
goodness, yeah.
Very, because to love that deeply and yet to fight that hard for the bio parents as well is, and it is. So what did that road back look like for you, Hannah? So you got to know her, the story, the openness, the willingness to let you enter into her story, all of those things kind of led you a number of ways. And so then you ended up going to their church.
Well, what's crazy is I had a lot of friends at the same time that were also, from recovery, that were dealing with their own situations with foster parents, and their stories were ugly. And there was times where some of the foster parents wouldn't show up for the visits and stuff like that. So I knew my situation, our story was different, and I knew that, I was blessed with them as her foster parents, and I knew that I was experiencing something that my friends weren't. It was all during COVID, and it was extended like over a year. And I just remember the end of it when I knew I was going to keep them in contact for her sake, even though we were reaching the end where it was looking like she was going to come home and stuff. And I knew that they were willing to adopt at one point too. And that scared me because I was by myself
I can only
doing it.
imagine.
Yeah. And even though I knew she would be in a good place with them, I still wanted her back, so, and I prayed on it. I was on my knees praying on it, that, for God to do his will in this story, and whether or not she stay with them or go home with me, it was, it was hard during that time, but I'll never forget the day they brought her home, when the judge granted reunification. They brought her home, and all of them, them and the 4 kids, all had her items, and they were all crying. And I was like, why is everybody crying? Like, this isn't the end. Like, they thought it was it. And that
Yes,
was,
it's like, we're never going to see her again.
Yeah, I just wanted them to know, like, I would never do that. I would never close that door on them, especially with the way they loved her as their own. And I knew that, and I felt it,
Wow.
And I knew it was kind of the beginning of our story. That ending was actually the beginning of it. So
That's incredible. That ending was the beginning of an even bigger story.
yeah.
And we've taken vacations together.
Oh my gosh.
We've done Thanksgiving together.
Yeah.
We've done every holiday.
Every holiday
since
together.
Matter.
Not just Thanksgiving.
And it really started with the snowpocalypse.
Oh,
Okay.
right.
2020.
Very shortly after she had just
Oh, yeah.
gotten home. And then she has this, there's
Somehow our powers stayed on.
We were like a mile away from each other.
Close.
Yeah, and my power, and Sarah was like, you guys are coming over here, because we were gonna sit in the car with the heater running, and Sarah was like, no, just come over, and I felt so like kind of embarrassed that we would have to go there, but I didn't have family in town to go anywhere else, so I like, okay, I guess this is my only choice, and I have to just, go there, and we did, and they welcomed us in their home and gave us our own room and took care of us like, like their own family, and I knew, a special thing right then. Yeah.
It was the charcuterie board from Market Street.
Was it? I don't even remember that.
that.
sure.
There you go.
Always
There you go. Whatever we can do.
The highlight to me was when we got to see you get baptized
That's right, yeah.
at our church. You and your sister on the same Sunday was down from New York.
Yeah.
And I'll cherish that forever. To
All
see
her
you.
extended family are so precious to us too. Her sisters
Yeah.
and her dad, they're all very sweet to us. And when her sister comes to visit, it's like another sister.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
That's incredible. Okay, so the story that we've been talking about happened all the way in COVID, and we're now in 2025. And so how old is Sunny now?
She just turned 6.
Just turned 6, and she's here with us today, so maybe we can bring her in and let her tell some of her story. Would you like to come on in? Come on in.
The great Sunny.
Big girl. So can you tell us what do you call these people?
Who is that?
Who is that?
Mommy Sarah,
Sarah,
Mama
who's that?
Sarah.
Daddy Landon.
Daddy, so they are like they're not even aunts and uncles. They're like we get the mommy and daddy names and everything.
Whenever she went back to Hannah's house, we were just kind of talking because Hannah was so kind and generous and graceful to let us still be a part of their lives. And she was like, well, what is she going to call you? Because, she's going to it's going to be confusing. She has so many mommies. So I was thinking, she can call me aunt. She can call me, that one girl that we know over there. And Hannah's like, what about mommy Sarah? And I was like, really?
Wow.
That's so special. And so that's one of my greatest joys
Yes.
to be mommy Sarah. She's my girl, right? Yeah.
It's one of the great loves of our lives for sure. And everybody else could call her Summer, but she's Sunny. Too.
That's what I started calling her.
Sunny
but,
Sunshine.
Because y'all said Sunny so
Summer
much.
Sunshine. Well, we would talk about her like on social media or whatever. You're not supposed to use
Right,
their names and
right.
faces, and so we decided she was going to be Sunny.
That's how that originated.
That's how it
Yeah.
I can remember that.
We
I can
just
remember the
call her
pictures with the sun symbol.
Yep, their sweet little face covered.
Absolutely. So if there's anything you can tell about this story, what part of this story, anything that comes to mind for you, if you could tell anybody anything?
I do love you guys and you, but you just guys mean so much to me, and I never want to let you go.
Baby.
Oh, wow.
Never going to let you go.
Never have to.
Such a beautiful part of the
So
story.
special.
You're stuck with us.
We'll see when she's a teenager if she still wants us around.
That's so good.
So
You
what?
think you'll still like us when you're a teenager?
She's promising
Okay.
it's on video. We're gonna show this to you when you're
there
We got some teenagers that don't like us all.
Yes,
I
exactly.
feel that.
Well, I still want to be with you when I'm a teenager, and I never want to let you go when I'm even a teenager, and I don't want to ever see you anymore because I still like to see you all the time.
All right.
Whoever wants to answer this, if there's one thing that you could tell somebody debating getting into foster care, right? Whether it's from the bio perspective going, I would love to have somebody like Sarah and Landon caring for my kiddo, or whether it's from y'all's perspective just going, there's a need, or what one thing would you kind of leave them with?
I want to be encouraging, but also I think a huge thing there's a huge need. If you have foster care in your heart, you should foster. But also, if we can set our minds when we're going into it, like what the Lord is calling us to do as foster parents, which is not pray that we get to adopt these babies or vilify or whatever the word is for that, their bio parents.
Yeah.
I think that is such a huge thing. I think a lot of people are like, oh, this is a good way to adopt a baby. And it can be.
It can be.
And there are lots of babies that need adopted, children that need adopted. God's heart for foster care is that we're there for people who are hurting, not just the kids, but also the parents. And to be overly clear that you're on their team. Absolutely protect children. Don't put them in situations that it's dangerous for them, but also don't tell yourself stories about people that are not true.
Okay.
And give them the benefit of the doubt. Realize that any of us could need somebody to, love us into what God's called us to be for our kids. Bio parents need that really bad. And I think that's a huge thing that can sometimes be missing
Absolutely.
from people's outlook or their perspective when they're planning to foster.
Amen.
Our foster care journey is very much on that side of we want to be more the stopgap. And if adoption comes down the line, then it can. But we love the idea of restoration. We believe that God can work in incredible ways and restore the most broken of situations. And that's one of the things I love about this story so much. My wife, oftentimes, whenever they go in that awkward meeting that you mentioned, that first awkward meeting, she's not this kind of person typically, but she will, if it's the lady that's the first one she gets to meet, she just like gives them this big bear hug, kind of like, she's like, just bring it in, and the lady's like, I gotta get away. She's like, nope. She's like, I am for you.
Yeah.
You are not the villain. You are, right? And let's welcome you in, and anything that we can do to support you in the midst of this. And then there's sometimes we don't get those relationships, but I love that. So we'll kind of end with that. Thank you all so much for telling your story. If you've been watching this and you enjoy hearing more of these stories, then you can subscribe, check us out on Open Homes Initiative, the website, the Facebook, wherever you can find us. We'd love to hear your story. We'd love to connect. We'd love to support in whichever way we can. So thanks for listening.